The luxury ship Serene Harmony glided through space like a floating palace. Its white hull gleamed with polished metal and crystal windows. Beautiful gardens grew inside transparent domes along its sides. Soft music played through its corridors. Where alien diplomats walked in flowing robes of many colors, Ambassador Veltar stood on the bridge and looked out at the yellow star ahead. Sol, the humans called it. This was his 47th first contact mission, and he knew exactly how it would go. The new species would be scared at first. They always were. Then they would listen to his calm words about peace and friendship. Within a few months, they would join the Galactic Concordat as happy members. The bridge crew worked quietly around him. Captain Yelana studied her instruments with 4 golden eyes. Communications Officer Dralik listened for radio signals from the third planet. Everything was going as planned. Ambassador, Dralik said in his musical voice, we are receiving many signals from Earth. They seem to have basic radio technology and simple computers. Veltar nodded. This was normal. Most species discovered radio before they learned to travel between stars. Have they noticed us yet? Yes, sir. We detected several scanning beams pointed in our direction. Their technology is quite primitive, but they are definitely watching us. Good, Veltar thought. The humans would be curious. Fear would come later, when they realized how advanced the Concordat was. But fear would turn to wonder when they learned about all the peaceful worlds waiting to welcome them. Send the standard first contact message, Veltar ordered. All languages, all frequencies, tell them we come in peace. The message went out in over 3,000 languages collected during millennia of exploration. It spoke of friendship between the stars. It promised knowledge and trade. It invited Earth to join the great family of civilized worlds. Captain Yelana looked up from her controls. Ambassador, I am detecting movement near their largest moon. Something big is coming around the far side. Veltar felt excitement rise in his chest. Excellent. They are sending a delegation to meet us. Probably their best ship to make a good impression. But as the object came into view on the main screen, Veltar's excitement turned to confusion. This was not what he expected. The ship that emerged from behind Earth's moon was enormous. It was easily twice the size of the Serene Harmony. But where his ship was beautiful, this one was built for only one purpose: war. Its hull was dark gray metal covered in thick armor plates. Massive. Guns stuck out from rotating turrets along its sides. Strange antennas and sensors bristled from every surface. Deep scars cut across its armor, telling stories of old battles. This ship had been in many fights. By the void, whispered Captain Ilana. That is not a diplomatic vessel. The human warship moved toward them with deadly grace. It did not announce itself. It did not send peaceful greetings. It simply came closer, its weapons tracking the Concordat ships. Sir, Dralik said with worry in his voice, they are scanning us with military sensors, very advanced ones. They are mapping our hull, our weapons, our shields. This is what warships do before attacking. Veltar stared at the screen. In 47 first contact missions, nothing like this had ever happened. New species always sent their finest diplomatic ships. They wanted to make friends. They were eager to learn about the peaceful galaxy waiting for them, but these humans had sent a warship. Open a channel, Veltar ordered. His voice stayed calm, but his hands shook slightly. All frequencies. Maybe they are just being careful. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the human ship. Veltar gasped. Unlike other species he had met, these humans looked like predators. Their eyes faced forward for hunting. Their teeth were sharp. Most shocking of all, every human on the bridge wore military uniforms and carried weapons. A human female with short black hair and cold eyes stepped forward. Scars marked her face. Her uniform bore symbols that meant nothing to Veltar, but everything about her screamed soldier. I am Commander Sarah Chun of the United Earthship Defiant, she said. Her voice was hard as metal. You have entered the Sol system without permission. State your business here. Veltar blinked in surprise. No new species had ever challenged the Concordat before. They were always grateful for contact with advanced civilization. Greetings, he said, using his most soothing tone. I am Ambassador Veltar of the Galactic Concordat. We come in peace to welcome your species into our great community of worlds. We offer friendship, knowledge, and trade. Commander Chun studied him for a long moment. Behind her, human officers worked at control stations covered in weapons systems. Every screen showed tactical information. This was the bridge of a ship built for killing. And what do you want in return? Chun asked. The question surprised Veltar. Want? We want nothing except friendship. The Concordat exists to bring peace to the galaxy. We help species grow and learn. We share technology and culture. We ask only that new members follow our laws of peace. Chun's eyes grew even colder. Your laws? Well, yes. The Concordat has rules that all members must follow. No wars between member species. All disputes settled by our courts, military forces reduced to police levels. These rules have brought peace to over 10,000 worlds. Something changed in Chun's expression. It was not fear or wonder as Veltar expected, it was recognition. The look of someone who had heard promises like this before. I see, Chun said slowly. And what happens to the species that refuse to follow these rules? Veltar felt confused. Why would anyone refuse peace? That has never happened. All species see the wisdom of our ways. All of them? Chun asked. Every single species in your Concordat joined willingly? Of course, Veltar said. But something in Chin's tone made him uncomfortable. The benefits are obvious to any thinking being, Chun leaned forward. What about species that like being independent? What about worlds that want to keep their own? Laws? What about people who think they can take care of themselves? Those ideas fade quickly when species see what we offer, Veltar said. War disappears, poverty ends, disease is cured. Who would choose violence and suffering over peace and prosperity? The human commander was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was very soft. Someone who has learned that predators often wear the masks of friends. Before Veltar could respond, alarms began ringing on both ships. Captain Yelena turned to her instruments with panic in her golden eyes. Ambassador, I am detecting more ships. Many more. They are coming from all over the system? The tactical screen lit up with dozens of new contacts. Human ships were emerging from behind asteroids, from the shadows of planets, from the dark spaces between worlds. They had been hidden, waiting and watching. Commander Chun smiled, but it was not a friendly expression. Welcome to the Sol System, Ambassador. We have been expecting you. Veltar stared at the display in shock. The humans had not just sent one warship to meet them. They had turned their entire star system into a trap. Every ship he could see was built for fighting. There were no luxury vessels, no peaceful transports, no diplomatic craft. Only weapons, weapons everywhere. How did you know we were coming? Veltar whispered. We have been listening to your communications for decades, Chun said. We know about your Concordat. We know how you operate. We know what happens to species that trust you too quickly. But we come in peace. Chun's laugh was sharp as breaking glass. So do pirates, Ambassador. So do conquerors. So does everyone who wants something from us? She leaned back in her captain's chair. The difference is, we learned a long time ago to be ready for the ones who lie? On the tactical display, more human ships continued to appear. The Concordat fleet was completely surrounded. But strangely, the humans were not attacking. They were just watching, waiting. What do you want? Veltar asked. Commander Chun studied him through the screen. Her scarred face showed years of hard decisions and harder fights. We want to talk, Ambassador. But we want to talk as equals. Not as sheep being led to slaughter. She gestured to the weapon-covered bridge around her. Humanity did not send diplomats because we know how this story usually ends. We sent a warship because sometimes that is the only language predators understand. Veltar looked at the human commander and realized he was seeing something new. Something that had never happened in 47 First Contact missions. He was looking at a species that was not afraid of the galactic CONCORDAT, and for the first time in his long career, Ambassador Veltar wondered if perhaps the humans had good reason to be suspicious. 3 hours passed before Commander Chun agreed to allow Ambassador Veltar aboard the human warship. The Concordat delegation had to follow strict rules. Only 5 beings could come aboard. No weapons, no recording devices. No protective shields or armor. Veltar found these conditions strange. Most species were eager to show off their finest technology during first contact. They wanted to impress the Concordat with their achievements. But the humans seemed more interested in keeping secrets than making friends. The shuttle bay of the Defiant was nothing like the elegant docking ports on Concordat ships. It was a vast metal cave filled with military vehicles. Fighter craft hung from the ceiling like sleeping metal birds. Ground assault vehicles sat in neat rows along the walls. Everything was built for war. Human soldiers watched the Concordat delegation with suspicious eyes. They carried energy weapons that looked far more advanced than anything in the official reports about Earth's technology. Veltar began to wonder how much the Concordat really knew about these people. Commander Chun met them at the airlock. She had not changed from her military uniform. No fancy robes or ceremonial dress, just the practical clothes of a soldier ready for battle. "Welcome aboard the Defiant," she said without smiling. "Stay close to your escort. This ship has security measures that might be dangerous to visitors." They walked through corridors that made Veltar uncomfortable. The walls were thick metal, designed to stop explosions. Emergency blast doors waited at regular intervals. Weapon storage compartments were built into every section. Even the lighting was harsh and bright, making it easy to spot enemies hiding in shadows. "Your ship seems very militaristic," said Dr. Kefani, the Concordat's cultural specialist. Her blue skin had turned pale from nervousness. "Most species build their first starships for exploration and trade." Chun glanced back at her. "Most species probably did not fight 3 major wars while building their first starships." 3 wars? Veltar asked. "But you have only had space travel for a few decades." "Exactly," Chun said. "We took our wars with us when we left Earth." They passed through a section where human crew members were practicing weapons drills. Men and women moved through combat scenarios with deadly precision. They worked together like parts of a single machine built for fighting. "Why do your people need so much weapons training?" asked Commander Yelena. "The galaxy is peaceful under Concordat protection." Chun stopped walking and turned to face them. "Is it? How many pirate attacks happened in Concordat space last year?" The question caught Veltar off guard. "Well, there are always a few criminals. How many?" Chun repeated. "Perhaps a few hundred incidents," Veltar admitted. "But our peacekeepers handle them according to proper procedures." "What procedures?" Chun asked. "We send formal warnings. We offer chances for surrender. If necessary, we engage in ritual combat to minimize casualties. Most pirates prefer to flee rather than face our justice." Chun stared at him for a long moment, and then they attack someone else. "Eventually they are caught and rehabilitated," Veltar said weakly. "How long does that usually take?" Veltar did not answer. The truth was that many pirate groups operated for years before being stopped. The Concordat's peaceful methods were slow and gave criminals many chances to escape. They continued walking until they reached a large room with a long table. Maps of the solar system covered the walls. Battle plans and tactical displays showed the positions of every ship in the system. This was clearly a war room. "Please sit," Chun said, taking her place at the head of the table. "Before we talk about joining your Concordat, I think you should understand who we are." She pressed a button, and the lights dimmed. A holographic display appeared above the table, showing Earth as it looked 50 years ago. Beautiful blue oceans and green continents sparkled with city lights. "This was Earth in 2075, Chun said. "Population 12 billion, one government. No wars for 30 years. We thought we had learned to live in peace." The image changed to show massive space stations orbiting the planet. Ships moved between Earth and colonies on Mars and the moons of Jupiter. It looked like a peaceful civilization reaching for the stars. We had colonies on 6 worlds, Chun continued. Mining operations in the asteroid belt. A bright future ahead of us. Her voice grew harder. Then we discovered that peace does not last when some people want more than their share. The hologram changed again. Now it showed explosions, space stations breaking apart, ships firing on each other, cities on Earth burning as debris fell from space. The Unity Wars, Chun said quietly, started when the Mars colonies declared independence. Earth's government said no. The asteroid miners took sides. The Jupiter settlements tried to stay neutral. She paused. 3 billion people died in 5 years. Veltar gasped. 3 billion deaths was more than most species had in their entire populations. Surely you could have negotiated ... We tried, Chun said. Peace talks, ceasefires, prisoner exchanges. Treaties signed with great hope. The hologram showed burning wreckage floating in space. The problem with peace treaties is that they only work when everyone wants peace. Dr. Kethani leaned forward. But you must have learned from this tragedy. Surely you rebuilt your civilization on principles of harmony, Chun laughed, but there was no humor in it. We learned, all right. We learned that when someone is shooting at you, shooting back is the only thing that keeps you alive. The hologram showed the slow rebuilding of human civilization. But this time it was different. Every space station bristled with weapons. Every colony ship could fight as well as explore. Every peaceful settlement had soldiers ready to defend it. The Second Colonial War started 10 years later, Chun said. Pirates from the outer system thought the core worlds were weak after the Unity Wars. They were wrong. The display showed pirate fleets being systematically destroyed by human forces. We won that war in 6 months. And the third war? Commander, Yelena asked. At the Titan Rebellion 5 years ago, Chun replied. Some people thought the government was too harsh after the pirate war. They wanted more freedom. She gestured to the scars on her face. I got these defending a civilian transport from rebel fighters. Veltar studied the tactical displays around the room. Everyone showed different ways to fight battles in space. Humans had not just learned to make war among the stars. They had mastered it. Why are you telling us this? He asked. Chun stood up and walked to a large window looking out at space. The Concordat fleet hung in the distance, surrounded by human warships. Because you need to understand something about humanity. We did not choose to become warriors. We became warriors because the universe forced us to. She turned back to face them. Every human in this system has lost someone to war. Every family has graves to visit. Every child grows up learning that the price of peace is constant readiness. For war, Dr. Cathania's blue skin had grown even paler. But surely now that you know about the Concordat, you can lay down your weapons. We can teach you better ways. Can you? Chun asked. Tell me about the Cathari raids last month. Veltar felt ice in his veins. How did the humans know about that? The Cathari were a minor problem. Former Concordat members who had chosen to return to piracy rather than follow peaceful ways. Their attacks were embarrassing but not serious. How do you know about those? He whispered. We monitor all communications in this part of the galaxy, Chun said. We have been watching the Concordat for 20 years. We know about your successes, she paused. And we know about your failures. She pressed another button and the hologram changed to show recent attacks on Concordat shipping. Merchant vessels destroyed, civilian transports captured. Peaceful worlds raided by pirates who knew the Concordat would not fight back effectively. The Cathari have been attacking your people for 5 years, Chun said. Your response has been warnings, negotiations, and formal protests. Meanwhile, they keep killing innocent beings. We cannot simply destroy them, Veltar protested. They are still citizens of member worlds. They have rights. What about the rights of their victims? Chun asked. The room fell silent. The Concordat delegation had no answer for that question. Their peaceful ways did not work well against people who chose violence. Chun sat back down at the table. Is why humanity sent a warship instead of diplomats, Ambassador? We have learned that predators do not fear pretty words or formal procedures. They only understand strength. She gestured to the tactical displays covering the walls. Every weapon on this ship, every soldier in our fleet, every defense satellite around our worlds exists for one purpose: to make sure that the people we care about can sleep safely at night. Veltar looked around the war room and finally began to understand. The humans were not primitive savages who glorified violence. They were people who had learned the hardest lesson in the universe. Sometimes the only way to protect peace was to be ready for war. What do you want from us? He asked quietly, Commander. Chun smiled for the first time since they had met. But it was a cold smile like the edge of a blade catching light. We want to talk, she said, but we want to talk as equals. Not as children being taught by their elders. Not as primitives being civilized by their betters. She leaned forward. We want to talk as one group of survivors to another. The negotiations had been going on for 6 hours when the emergency alarm cut through the meeting room like a knife. Red lights flashed on every wall. The humans around the table instantly became alert, their hands moving to weapons that Veltar had not even noticed they were carrying. Commander Chun pressed her finger to a small device in her ear. Her face went hard as stone. Understood, battle stations. All ships to ready condition. She stood up quickly. Ambassador, I am afraid our talks will have to wait. We have a situation. Before Veltar could ask what was happening, the main display lit up with a tactical map of the outer solar system. A new group of ships had appeared near the edge of Concordat sensor range. The computer was already identifying them. Cathari raiders, said Lieutenant Torres, the human tactical officer. Looks like a full war band, maybe 30 ships. Dr. Cathani gasped and turned blue with fear. They followed us here. They must have been tracking our ship. Commander Chun studied the display with cold eyes. How long until they reached the inner system? 2 hours at their current speed, Torres replied. But sir, they are heading for the Concordat fleet, not us. They probably think this is just a first contact mission with easy targets. Veltar felt his heart beating faster. The Cathari were dangerous enough when they attacked single merchant ships. A full war band could destroy his entire diplomatic mission. Commander Chun, we need to contact our ships immediately. They must prepare to withdraw. Withdraw? Chun asked. Where exactly do you plan to go? Your ships are not fast enough to outrun Cathari raiders. Then we will try to negotiate, Veltar said desperately. Perhaps we can reach some agreement. Chin stared at him like he had just suggested flying into the sun. Ambassador, those pirates just spent weeks tracking your ships through space. They did not come here to talk. Captain Yelena was frantically working with her own communicator, trying to reach the serene harmony. Our ships are not equipped for this kind of fight, she said with panic in her voice. We have ceremonial weapons only. We need help. Commander Chun was quiet for a moment. Then she pressed several buttons on the tactical display. Torres signal. All human ships, condition red, prepare for combat operations. Wait, Veltar said. You cannot get involved. This is Concordat business. We will handle it according to our laws. Your laws? Chun asked. The same laws that let these pirates operate freely for 5 years? We have procedures, Veltar insisted. Formal challenges. Honor duels, rules of engagement that minimize casualties. Chun walked to the main display and pointed at the approaching Cathari fleet. Those ships out there do not care about your procedures, Ambassador? They care about profit. Your ships are full of valuable technology and important prisoners they can sell, she turned to face him. How many Concordat citizens have died while you followed those procedures? Veltar could not answer. He knew the number was high. Too high. But the Concordat way was to preserve life, even the lives of criminals. Violence was always the last option. I understand your reluctance to fight, Chun said more gently. But sometimes the choice is not between violence and peace. Sometimes the choice is between fighting and watching innocent people die. The tactical display updated as more information came in. The Cathari fleet was larger than first estimated, 40 ships, not 30. All of them were heavily armed converted merchants and military vessels stolen from Concordat forces over the years. "Commander," Torres said urgently, "the raiders are changing course. They have detected our fleet. They are moving to attack position," Chun nodded grimly. "They know we are here now. This just became our fight whether we want it or not." She pressed her communicator. "All ships, this is Defiant Actual. We have hostile contacts inbound. Rules of engagement are weapons free. Protect the Concordat vessels at all costs." The humans around the table moved with smooth efficiency. This was not their first battle. Every person knew exactly what to do. Within minutes, the Defiant was ready for war. "Ambassador," Chun said, "I am going to offer you a choice. You can watch from here while we handle this threat, or you can come to the bridge and see how humans fight." Veltar looked at his delegation. Dr. Cathani was too frightened to speak. Commander Yelana was still trying to coordinate with her own ships, but curiosity won over fear. He had to see this. "We will come to the bridge," he said. The bridge of the Defiant during battle preparation was unlike anything Veltar had ever seen. Every station buzzed with activity. Tactical displays showed the positions of all ships in the system. Weapons. Officers checked their systems. Communications teams coordinated with the fleet, but what struck Veltar most was the calm. These humans were about to fight for their lives, but no one was panicking. No one was arguing about procedures or honor. They simply did their jobs with deadly precision. "Sir," reported the sensor officer, "Cathari fleet will be in weapons. Range in 90 minutes. They are moving in standard raider formation." "Looks like they plan to hit the Concordat ships first, then deal with us," Chun nodded. "They think we are just another peaceful species they can intimidate." She smiled coldly. Time to educate them. On the main screen, Veltar could see both fleets moving toward each other. The Concordat ships were trying to form their traditional defensive circle. It was a formation designed for ceremonial combat, not real war. The Cathari were spreading out to surround them. "Why are your ships not moving to help ours?" Yelana asked with growing panic. "Because that is what the raiders expect," Chun explained. "They want us to bunch up with your ships so they can attack us all at once." She pointed to the tactical display. "Instead, we are going to let them commit to their attack run. Then we will hit them where they do not expect it." Veltar watched as human ships seemed to drift away from the Concordat fleet. To his untrained eye, it looked like the humans were abandoning their new allies. But something in Chan's calm confidence told him there was more to this plan. "Incoming transmission from the Cathari fleet," reported the communications officer. "Put it through," Chun ordered. The main screen filled with the ugly face of a Cathari war leader. His scaled skin was covered in ritual scars. His teeth were filed to sharp points. Everything about him screamed violence and cruelty. "I am War. Leader Scathach of the Blood-Tide Fleet," he snarled. "You will surrender your ships and prepare to be boarded. Resist, and we will take what we want from your corpses." Chun stepped forward so the Cathari could see her clearly. "I am Commander Sarah Chun of the United Earthship Defiant. You are in violation of Sol System space. Leave now or be destroyed." Scathach laughed, showing his sharp teeth. Bold words. From a primitive species. "Your little ships cannot stand against the might of the blood tide." "Maybe not," Chun said calmly. "But I guess we will find out." The transmission ended. Scathach had made his choice. There would be no negotiation, no formal procedures. Just violence and death unless someone stopped it. "All ships," Chun broadcast to the human fleet, "begin pattern Omega. Execute on my mark." Veltar had no idea what pattern Omega meant, but he could see human ships beginning to move in ways that seemed random. Some accelerated toward the raiders. Others drifted sideways. A few even seemed to be retreating. "What are they doing?" Dr. Cathani whispered. "Showing the raiders exactly what they expect to see," Chun replied. "Confused aliens who do not know how to fight." The Cathari fleet spread out and began their attack run on the Concordat ships. Their formation was perfect for overwhelming. peaceful vessels that would try to surrender rather than fight back. But Veltar noticed something the raiders had missed. The seemingly random movements of the human ships had put them in perfect positions around the Cathari fleet. What looked like confusion was actually the most sophisticated tactical maneuver Veltar had ever seen. "Sir," Torres reported, "all ships report ready. The trap is set." Chen watched the display as the Cathari ships committed fully to their attack on the Concordat fleet. There was no going back for them now. They were locked into their course, all their attention focused on what they thought were easy victims. "Mark," Chen said quietly. The battle began in a way that Veltar would remember for the rest of his life. The human ships did not announce their attack. They did not issue formal challenges. They did not give the raiders a chance to surrender. They simply opened fire with every weapon they had, space lit up with energy beams and missile trails. The Cathari fleet, caught completely by surprise, found themselves under attack from every direction at once. Their perfect formation became a death trap as human weapons tore through their ships. "Impossible," Veltar whispered. "How did they ... "Experience," Chum said grimly. "We have been fighting pirates and raiders for 50 years, Ambassador. We know how they think because we used to think the same way." On the display, Cathari ships were exploding one after another. A few tried to turn and fight, but they were outnumbered and outgunned. Most tried to flee, but the humans had positioned their fastest ships to cut off escape routes. The battle that should have lasted hours was over in 15 minutes. The blood-tide fleet that had terrorized Concordat space for years was nothing but debris and surrender pods. Commander Chun turned to face the stunned Concordat delegation. "This is how humans fight, Ambassador. Not with honor or ceremonies or..." The news of the blood-tide fleet's destruction spread through Cathari space like wildfire. For 5 years, war leader Skathek had been the most feared raider in the outer territories. His fleet had never lost a battle. Concordat ships fled when they saw his ships coming. Now he was dead and his entire armada was space dust. High Chieftain Gerthak received the news while sitting on his throne made from the bones of defeated enemies. The messenger who brought the report was shaking with fear. In Cathari culture, bringing bad news to the High Chieftain was often a death sentence. "Say that again," Gerthak growled. His voice was like grinding stone. Slowly. "The blood-tide fleet is gone, Great One," the messenger repeated. "All 40 ships. Destroyed in less than 1 hour by unknown vessels near the human homeworld." Gerthak stood up from his throne. He was massive even for a Cathari, covered in ritual scars and wearing armor made from the hulls of captured ships. His claws scraped against the metal floor as he walked to his tactical display. "Unknown vessels?" he asked. "The Concordat finally grew some teeth?" "No, Great One, the reports say these were human ships. The new species the Concordat was trying to recruit." Gerthak laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Humans? The primitive apes from Sol System? Our spies said they barely had space travel." The messenger pulled out a data crystal with trembling hands. "The survivors recorded everything before their pods were captured. You need to see this." The holographic display activated and showed the final moments of the blood-tide fleet. Gerthak watched with growing amazement as human warships appeared from nowhere and destroyed his most powerful warband with frightening efficiency. "Impossible," he whispered. "No species fights like that. Where did they learn such tactics?" But as he watched the recording again, Gerthak began to understand. The humans fought like Cathari. No honor, no mercy. No rules except victory. They used deception, overwhelming firepower, and ruthless efficiency. It was beautiful and terrifying. "How many humans are there?" he asked. "Intelligence estimates 12 billion on their homeworld," the messenger replied. "Unknown populations on colonies throughout their system." Gerthak's eyes gleamed with hunger. 12 billion slaves would be worth more than the Cathari had stolen in the past century. And if these humans were as good at fighting as they appeared, they would make excellent warriors for his fleets. "Send word to all war leaders," he commanded. "The great hunt begins now. Every ship, every warrior, every weapon we have, we go to Sol System. Great one, the messenger said carefully. Perhaps we should wait. Learn more about their capabilities. Garthik backhanded the messenger across the room. Are you afraid of primitives? The blood tide was caught by surprise. We will not make the same mistake. He turned back to the tactical display and began planning the largest Tethari offensive in 200 years. Besides, he added with a cruel smile, species that fight this well will bring excellent prices in the slave markets. 3 days later, Ambassador Veltar was still trying to process what he had witnessed. The complete destruction of a major pirate fleet in 15 minutes had shattered everything he thought he knew about space combat. The Concordat had been fighting the Cathari for years with limited success. The humans had ended the threat in less time than it took to conduct a formal surrender ceremony. He was reviewing battle recordings in his quarters aboard the Serene Harmony when Captain Yelena burst through his door without announcing herself. Her usually perfect composure was gone, replaced by raw panic. Ambassador, we are receiving emergency signals from across the sector. The Cathari are mobilizing everything. Every ship, every warrior, they are coming here. Veltar felt ice in his veins. How many ships? Our long-range sensors detect over 200 vessels heading this way, maybe more. It looks like their entire military force. 200 ships. Veltar had never heard of a pirate fleet that large. The Cathari had been gathering strength for years, but no one in the Concordat had realized how powerful they had become. How long until they arrive? He asked. 4 days, maybe 5 if they stop to coordinate their attack. Veltar stood up and walked to his window. Outside, he could see human patrol ships moving in complex patterns around the solar system. Even now, they were preparing for battle. Contact Commander Chun immediately. Request an emergency meeting. An hour later, Veltar found himself back in the war room aboard the Defiant, but this time the atmosphere was different. The humans were not calm and confident. They were working with intense focus, like people preparing for the fight of their lives. Commander Chun looked up from a holographic display covered in tactical calculations. Ambassador, I assume you have heard about our incoming visitors. 200 ships, Veltar said. Commander, this is beyond anything the Cathari have ever attempted. You must evacuate your people immediately. Chun raised an eyebrow. Evacuate? Where exactly would we go? This is our home. The Concordat can provide refugee ships, Veltar offered. We can relocate your population to safe worlds until this threat passes. You mean abandon Sol System to pirates? Chun asked. Let them set up a permanent base in human space? Use our worlds as a launching point for attacks on Concordat territory? Veltar had not thought about that. If the Cathari took control of the Sol System, they would have a perfect base for expanding their raids. The strategic implications were terrifying. What are your alternatives? He asked. Chun turned back to her display. We fight. Against 200 ships? Commander, you have maybe 50 vessels. The odds are impossible, are they? Chun asked. She pressed a button and the display changed to show the entire Sol System. Torres, show the ambassador what we have been working on. Lieutenant Torres stepped forward and began highlighting different areas of the display. We have 47 combat vessels, correct. But we also have mining ships converted to missile platforms. Orbital defense stations around every major world. Asteroid bases with heavy weapons, mobile weapon platforms disguised as space debris. As Torres spoke, more and more defensive positions appeared on the display. Veltar realized that the humans had turned their entire star system into a fortress. Every piece of space infrastructure was also a weapon. The Cathari will expect to find scattered resistance, Chun explained. A few ships trying to protect helpless civilians. Instead, they will find a coordinated defense network that has been preparing for this kind of attack for decades. But still, Veltar protested, 200 ships. We'll be fighting in our space, using our gravity wells, our asteroid fields, our gas giant magnetospheres, Chun interrupted. They know how to attack merchant convoys and peaceful colonies. They do not know how to assault a fortified star system, defended by people who have nowhere to run. She walked to another display showing detailed battle plans. Besides, we will not be fighting alone. What do you mean? Veltar Ost.Chen smiled for the first time since learning about the Cathari fleet. We have been teaching your ships how to fight, Ambassador. Captain Yelana is a quick learner. The display changed to show the Concordat vessels in the system. But they look different now. Human weapon systems had been attached to their hulls. Their formations had changed from ceremonial circles to military attack patterns. You armed our ships? Veltar gasped. We shared our tactical doctrine, Chung. Corrected. Your people are braver than you think. They just needed someone to show them how courage works in real combat. Before Veltar could respond, alarms began ringing throughout the ship. A communications officer called out urgently. Commander, we are receiving a transmission from the Cathari fleet. They are at the edge of the system. Already? Chun frowned. They are ahead of schedule. Put it through. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of a massive Cathari dreadnought. High Chieftain Gerthek sat on a throne surrounded by weapon displays and trophy collections. His scarred face showed cruel intelligence and absolute confidence. I am High Chieftain Gerthek of the Cathari Empire, he announced. I have come to claim this system and all its contents. Your species has shown impressive fighting ability. You will make excellent additions to my war fleets. June stepped forward so Gerthek could see her clearly. I am Commander Sarah Chun. This system is under the protection of the United Earth Fleet. Leave now or be destroyed. Gerthek laughed. You killed Skathek through trickery and surprise, but I'm not so easily fooled. I bring 230 ships and 50,000 warriors. You cannot hide from this force. We do not plan to hide, Chun replied calmly. Good, Gerthek said. I prefer prey that fights back. It makes the hunt more entertaining. He leaned forward on his throne. I will give you one chance to surrender. Join my fleets willingly, and I will allow your civilians to live as slaves rather than corpses. Chun's expression did not change. Counter offer. Leave our system now, and we will allow your ships to retreat with minimal casualties. Gerthek's laugh echoed through the bridge. You still do not understand, human. I did not come here to raid or steal. I came here to conquer. When this battle is over, your species will serve the Cathari Empire or it will be extinct. The transmission ended. Gerthek had made his choice. There would be no retreat, no mercy, no quarter given. This would be a fight to the finish. The Battle of Seoul began 18 hours after High Chieftain Gerthek entered the system. The Cathari fleet moved slowly inward, expecting to find scattered human ships trying to protect helpless civilian targets. Instead, they found something no pirate force had ever encountered before. An entire star system at war. The first surprise came when the Cathari advanced scouts reached the asteroid belt. What looked like ordinary mining equipment suddenly revealed itself as heavily armed weapon platforms. Asteroids that had been hollowed out and filled with missiles opened fire without warning. Mining ships that had seemed defenseless deployed. Military-grade energy weapons. Impossible, Gerthek snarled as he watched 12 of his fastest ships disappear in explosions. Where did primitives get such weapons? His tactical officer studied the sensor readings with growing alarm. Great One, these are not primitive weapons. This technology is more advanced than anything in our fleets. But the asteroid belt was just the beginning. As the Cathari fleet pushed deeper into the system, they discovered that every piece of human infrastructure was also a fortress. Space stations that should have been easy targets bristled with defensive weapons. Orbital shipyards launched waves of automated fighters. Even civilian habitats had been armed for war. They turned their entire system into a trap, Gerthek realized. Every world, every station, every rock in space is a weapon pointed at us. On the bridge of the Defiant, Commander Chun watched the battle unfold with grim satisfaction. The Cathari were learning what humanity had known for 50 years. When your survival depends on winning, you use every advantage you can find. Enemy. Casualties? She asked. 37 ships destroyed, maybe 15 more damaged, Torres reported. But they are adapting. The main fleet is changing course to avoid our fixed defenses. Chun nodded. She had expected this. The Cathari were experienced warriors, not stupid ones. They would learn from their mistakes and adjust their tactics. Signal all mobile units, she ordered. Begin Phase 2. Across the solar system, human ships that had been hiding behind planets and moons began to move. They did not charge straight at the enemy like heroes in ancient stories. Instead, they used the gravity wells of planets to slingshot into attack positions. They hid in the shadows of moons until the last possible moment. They coordinated their attacks with the precision of a symphony orchestra the Cathari found themselves under attack from directions they had not expected. Human ships appeared behind them, having used complex orbital mechanics to achieve impossible positions. What should have been a simple advance into the inner system became a running battle against an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. Great. 1, the tactical officer reported with panic in his voice. We are taking heavy casualties. 60 ships lost, maybe more. These humans fight like ... like us, Gerthik finished grimly. They fight like Cathari. He was right. The humans were using every dirty trick, every deception, every ruthless tactic that the Cathari had perfected over centuries of piracy, but they were doing it better. All ships, concentrate fire on their command vessel, Gerthik ordered. Kill their leader and the rest will surrender. The massive Cathari dreadnought and 50 escort ships turned toward the Defiant. Their combined firepower could crack a planet. But as they closed in for the kill, they discovered another surprise. The Concordat fleet was waiting for them. Captain Yelena had spent 3 days learning human tactics from Commander Chun. Her elegant diplomatic vessel had been transformed into a warship with human weapons and human fighting techniques. More importantly, her crew had learned to think like warriors instead of peacekeepers. All Concordat ships engage the enemy, Yelena ordered. Her voice was steady despite the fear she felt. Remember what the humans taught us. No mercy for those who show none. The Serene Harmony and her escort ships opened fire with weapons that had been gathering dust in their armories for decades. But now they were used with deadly purpose. Guided by human targeting systems and human tactical doctrine, Gerthak watched in amazement as ships he had dismissed as helpless prey tore through his formation. The Concordat grows teeth at last, he muttered, too late to save them. But the humans were not finished. As the Cathari fleet focused on the Concordat ships, the real trap revealed itself. Human vessels emerged from hiding places throughout the inner system. They had been waiting, patient as hunters, for their prey to commit fully to the attack. All ships, execute Hammerfall, Chun ordered. The Battle of Seoul entered its final phase. Over 100 human ships converged on the Cathari fleet from every direction. They moved with perfect coordination, each ship knowing exactly where to be and when to fire. It was not just tactics anymore. It was art. Gerthak finally understood what he was facing. These humans had not just learned to fight in space, they had mastered it. Every battle they had ever fought, every war they had survived, had taught them something new about violence among the stars. Retreat, he ordered. All ships withdraw immediately, but it was too late. The humans had planned for this moment too. Fast attack ships were already in position to cut off escape routes. The Cathari fleet found itself trapped in the gravity well of Seoul, surrounded by enemies who had turned their own star system into a weapon. The battle became a slaughter. Cathari ships that tried to run were picked off by human fighters. Those that tried to fight were overwhelmed by coordinated attacks from multiple directions. The few that tried to surrender discovered that humans like Cathari did not always accept surrender from those who had shown no mercy to others. Gerthak's dreadnought, damaged and alone, made one final charge at the Defiant. If he was going to die, he would take the human commander with him, but Chin had one last surprise. As the massive Cathari ship closed in, the Defiant seemed to retreat. Gerthak thought he had won. That fear had finally broken human resolve. Then the trap snapped shut. The Defiant had led him into the firing range of Luna Base, humanity's oldest and most heavily armed orbital fortress. weapons that had been built to crack asteroids, open fire at point-blank range. Gerthak had time for one final thought before his ship exploded. These humans were not just warriors. They were the most dangerous predators he had ever encountered. The Battle of Seoul ended after 18 hours of continuous fighting. Of the 230 ships that had entered the system with High Chieftain Gerthak, fewer than 20 escaped to tell the tale. The largest pirate fleet in known history had been utterly destroyed. Ambassador Veltar stood on the observation deck of the Serene Harmony, looking out at the debris field that had once been the Cathari Armada. His ship had survived the battle, with minor damage. Protected by human escorts and armed with human weapons, Commander Chen's voice came over the communications system, calm as always, despite the victory she had just achieved. All ships, stand down from battle stations. Begin search and rescue operations for survivors. Even now, after destroying their enemies, the humans were looking for survivors to save. It was a contradiction that Veltar was beginning to understand. Humans were capable of incredible violence, but they chose to use it only against those who threatened the innocent. Ambassador, Captain Ilana said as she joined him at the window, I have received new orders from Concordat High Command. Veltar turned to face her. Orders? The Cathari threat has been eliminated after 5 years of raids and attacks. High Command wants to know how we achieved such a decisive victory. Veltar thought about everything he had witnessed. The human warships, the tactical brilliance, the willingness to do whatever was necessary to protect their people and their allies. Tell them we found someone who knows how to fight wars so others do not have to, he said. 3 days later, Veltar found himself back in the war room aboard the Defiant. But this time the atmosphere was different. The tactical displays showed patrol ships securing the system borders. Medical teams were treating wounded from both sides. The immediate crisis was over. Commander Chun sat across from him, no longer the grim warrior preparing for battle. She looked tired but satisfied, like someone who had done a difficult job well. So, she said, shall we continue our negotiations about the Concordat? Veltar smiled. For the first time since arriving in the Sol system, he felt genuinely hopeful about the future. Commander, I think the terms have changed somewhat. How so? The Concordat has a new understanding of what peace really requires, Veltar explained. For too long, we have believed that good intentions and proper procedures were enough to protect innocent people. You have shown us that sometimes protection requires strength? Chun leaned back in her chair. And what does that mean for humanity's relationship with the Concordat? It means we would like to offer humanity a place in our organization, Veltar said formally. Not as junior members learning from their elders, but as partners. Teachers even. Teachers of what? Veltar gestured to the tactical displays showing the aftermath of the battle. How to fight wars so that peace can survive. Chun was quiet for a moment, considering the offer. What would you want us to do? Help us learn, Veltar said simply. Show other Concordat species how to defend themselves. Train our peacekeepers to be real protectors instead of ceremonial guards. Turn the Concordat from a collection of